If you want to know exactly what you need to do step by step when you get paid, that way you can become wealthy or become a millionaire, you're in the right place because that's what I'm going to be covering in this video. But let's start by you answering this question. Would you rather look rich or be rich? And you might say, of course I'd rather be rich. But if your lifestyle doesn't align with the words that you say, well, somebody's getting rich, it's just not you. If you own Gucci or Louis Vuitton or a Beamer or a Benz or a Rolex, but you don't own an investment portfolio worth at least as much as your designer, or you don't own enough cash flowing real estate to cover your expensive car payments, well, you look rich, but you're making somebody else actually rich. What every millionaire and what every wealthy person does is as soon as they get paid, the first thing that they do is they pay themselves first. They buy these assets which make them more money. But what every broke person does is they make money and then they spend this money. They go to Gucci, they go to Louis Vuitton, they go to the Beamer store, they pay for their Benz, they go to the Hilton, they go to the Marriott, they go on a nice vacation. They spend this money and then this money is gone. And then if there's any money left, that's when they'll use whatever's left to buy some of these, if any. This is where you got to understand the mindset difference between a broke person and a wealthy person, because you have to be wealthy here before you can actually be wealthy in your bank account. But what every wealthy person does is they prioritize paying themselves first, and that means buying these assets, buying investments, things that actually make you money. And if you prioritize that before you buy these, the luxury, the expensive, the things that don't make you any money, well, you're never going to become wealthy with these. You might look rich, especially in the short term, because you have the nice expensive stuff, but the stuff that makes you look rich is making somebody else rich. You're making Gucci rich, you're making Louis Vuitton rich, you're making the BMW dealership rich, you're making the Benz salesperson rich, but you're keeping yourself broke because anytime you get paid, you got to make the payments. And who's working to make the payments? Well, you got to go to work every single day to get paid. But what wealthy people are doing is they're working to own these, to own assets which pay them. And then these assets then pay for their liabilities. This is what every wealthy person is working towards. They're not working to buy these. They're working to buy these, and then their assets are paying for all their nice stuff. Their assets are buying the expensive cars. Their assets are paying for the expensive vacations. Their assets are paying for the name brand clothes. They're not going to work every single day to buy the name brand stuff. They're working every single day to buy the assets, because the assets will then work 24 hours a day, which will keep paying for your designer and nice stuff or whatever lifestyle you want day after day after day. But you have to change your mindset of buying these versus working to buy these first. The very first thing that I want you to do before you even get paid is I want you to go to the bank and open up at least 3 different bank accounts. One of these bank accounts is going to hold your spending money. One of these bank accounts is going to hold your investing money, and one of these bank accounts is going to hold your savings. You want to have these bank accounts separate. That way your money is separated, so you don't accidentally use your savings money to spend, and so you don't accidentally use your investment money to buy a TV. Once you create these 3 different bank accounts, what you ideally want to do is create an automatic deposit or an automatic bill pay or an automatic transfer. Every bank calls it something different, where essentially you get paid from your job or your business or whatever. Your money is going to go here into your spendings account, and then you want automatically some of this money to go here and some of this money to go here the day you get paid or the day after you get paid. That way you don't have to worry about it, that way you don't have to manually do it, and that way you don't even see the money. Because when you see the cash in your spending bank account, you're going to be more likely to spend it. And what you want to do is move that cash automatically out of your spending account and allocate it into your investments and your savings. That way now your money can automatically start being put to work and go into a place that's going to actually make you money. Now you're going to want to create a percentage that works with you, and you might have to gradually work up in this percentage depending on where you are financially. But one of the simplest things that you can do is start with something like this: 75, 15, 10. So now every dollar that you earn is going to be split up this way. The money goes here, and then 15 cents of every dollar that you earn is going to move towards your investment account, and 10 cents of every dollar that you earn is going to go towards your savings account. Now what you're doing is you're paying yourself first. This is the money that's going to make you wealthy. This is the money that's going to protect you against an emergency. And this is the money that you can now afford to spend on things that make you look rich. Ideally, you want to put more money here, but this is a place for you to start, because now no matter how much money you make, you're always paying yourself first, and this is the money that's going to be growing to earn you even more money. Now, if you're in a place where you're struggling with your money or you're not happy with the amount of money that you're making, then what I want you to do here is not just take this investment money and put it into the stock market or the real estate market, because over there you're trying to get a 7 to 10% return on your money, which is a good way to build long-term wealth if you can keep investing your money consistently. But if you want to see that wealth sooner and you have that drive and you want to achieve more for yourself, then what I want you to do with this money is take it and invest it in yourself. That means investing it in your own education. Start by watching YouTube videos, then start by buying books. I want you to go out and buy 20 business books. Some of the top business books out there. Just go to Amazon, go to Barnes & Noble, really go anywhere and find 20 of the top business books and read them. This can be books in entrepreneurship, books on starting a business, biographies. This can be books on marketing, books on scaling, books on operations. Go out and read some of the best business books that you get your hands on, some of the ones with the most reviews, some of the ones that are the most popular. If you read 20 of the top business books out there, you are going to have an MBA level education without paying the price for an MBA. And then I want you to start applying what you learned. Now you can actually start investing in your own side business idea. You can start investing in your own business idea. And then I want you to invest even more into yourself. Invest in your own business idea or invest in more education. This might mean business classes, business consulting, business coaching. These things get more pricey, but this money that you invest in yourself is going to give you the most return, because you have to be willing to invest in your business education, your earning money education, and your financial education, because these are the things that will allow you to amplify how much money you earn. Because if you want to 10x how much money you earn, you want to 20x how much money you earn, it is possible. There are people that go from making $100,000 a year to $100,000 a month to $100,000 a day. And sometimes these people never imagined that they'd even be able to make $100,000 in a year. But it requires that education, and you have to constantly be willing to invest in yourself. And if you're not willing to spend that money, if you're not willing to spend that time, well, it's going to be very difficult, impossible for you to achieve that success, because you have to be willing to invest in yourself. And this money, now that you're putting aside, is money that you can invest in yourself. And this is where you have to understand, what type of risk are you willing to take? Investing your money in the stock market or the real estate market has less risk than investing in yourself, but less upside. Investing this money into the bank, into a savings account, has even less risk, but less upside. You're going to get no interest in the bank, but that $100 you put in the bank is going to stay $100 next year. But the $100 isn't going to be able to buy you as much. The $100 in the stock market in a few years will hopefully be worth more than $100. But it's not going to be as much as if you take the $100 and you invest in the class and then you go and actually do something with it. There are many times where I have invested $1,000 or $10,000 or $100,000 into my own education, and I've been able to many times my money back because I learned something that will allow me to amplify my income. And this is where you got to understand how active you want to be with your investments. If you don't want to be that active, if you don't like the idea of starting your own side hustle, starting your own business, and you just want to passively invest your money, fine. Then you take this cash and you passively put it into something like the stock market or the real estate market, potentially cryptocurrency, maybe even startups. And so you have to decide how active that you want to be with your investments. Do you want to run a business, or do you want to just invest in the business passively? If you want to be passive, then you just go into the stock market and you just passively invest your money. I have videos on my channel where I go over how to invest your money in ETFs. If you want to be more active, well, you have to have more of the entrepreneurial bug. And that's where now you can really scale your income into something a whole lot bigger. Now, if you are a business owner and you want to see how you can run your business better, you want to be more aware of what's happening in the business markets, you want to be aware of what's happening with innovation and trends, you can join Business Briefs. It's a completely free resource that I created. It's a free newsletter where every day my team is breaking down what's going on in the business world in terms of business trends and innovation and funding. That way now you have all the research of what's happening in the business world. That way you can run your business better. Business Briefs is completely free. So if you haven't joined Business Briefs yet, I'll put the link to how you can join down in the description below. If you want to be a completely passive investor and not have to worry about your investments, then what you can do is, instead of opening up a separate bank account for your investment money, you can open up a brokerage account, a stock brokerage account, which specializes in passive investing. And now what you can do is create a direct deposit where, instead of this money going into your investment bank account, this money can directly be invested into the market every time you get paid, and that's where this money directly goes. So you can create a portfolio of ETFs. An ETF is an exchange traded fund. It's a group of stocks. So you create a number of different investments that you want to own. And now anytime this money gets pulled out, instead of going into a bank account, it's going to automatically be invested. And this is something that you want to do whether the market's up or down, no matter what, it's going to be consistent, it's going to be passive, and it's going to be automatic. Now, I do have some brokerages that I use down in the description. They are affiliate partners with mine. So if you want to see a passive investing account, you can check out my description to find a company that will help you with that. Now, when it comes to your spending money, there's a couple different things that I want to talk about, because there's a reason why convenience stores and liquor stores and gas station owners love payday. It's not that they're so happy that you get paid, it's because when you get paid, they get paid. These convenience stores and businesses that run on convenience shops, these businesses profit when people get paid, because when people get paid, they run over to the convenience store or the liquor store or the gas station, and then they blow their money on dumb stuff. I know this because I know a number of people who own convenience stores, who own gas stations, who own liquor stores. They love payday because that's the day they get paid. As soon as people get paid, they run over to the store and they start impulse spending, because you see this new cash in your bank account. And when people see this cash in their bank account, they feel like they have this need to spend money. Because now when you have $100 or $1,000 or $10,000, you feel like you have all the spending power and you need to go out and spend this money, so people go out and impulse spend. So what I want you to do now is, when you get paid, stop the impulse spending. You might get paid on a Friday. Now take that Friday to just soak it in and not go out and spend money. Treat it just like any other day. Don't go out and just spend money because you got money. Treat it like any other day, where now you want to be smart with your money. That way you can keep your money in your account even longer. And this also goes to really separating your needs and your wants, because a lot of times we do this impulse buying. We go to the store, we go to the mall, we see something that we like, we buy it, and then we never use it. And one of the simplest things that you can do is to stop buying the things that you never are going to use or that you don't really need. And one thing that you can do to help you with that is follow something like a 24-hour rule, where when you go to the store, you go to the mall, you go hang out, and you see something that you like and you really want to buy it, before you actually buy it, give yourself 24 hours. Let yourself sleep on it, think about it, and if after 24 hours you still really want that sweater, you still really want the handbag, you really want this thing, and you can afford it, then you go out and buy it. But after 24 hours, if you change your mind and you're like, maybe I will never wear that, I don't think I really want that, well, then you don't buy it. It's a simple way to now still let yourself buy the things that you want, but now not buy things that you don't really want. And the third thing that you can do to stop yourself from the impulse spending is, before you go to the store to shop, create a list. Make a list of the things that you want to buy, and then when you go to the store, only buy the things on that list. And what this is going to do is, immediately you're going to stop spending a whole lot of money on things that you don't need. And you're not even going to realize that you're spending money on these things until you go to the store, and then you start picking up random things, and now you don't put them in your cart because you realize it's not on the list. This is a simple way for you to save a lot of money when you're going to grocery shopping, especially if you're struggling with money. If you're one of those people who's saying, I don't know how I'm going to invest my money or save my money because I'm struggling just getting by with the spending, you need to start limiting your spending by knowing how do you spend. Now, of course, I want you to know how to increase your income as well. This is you investing your money in yourself, your education, and your own income strategies. But you also have to know how to live below your means and control your spending. And that can easily start by just making a list before you go out and shop, and then stick to the list when you're actually shopping. On the flip side of the spending side, because we just discussed all of your impulse purchases, now what I want you to review are the other non-impulse purchases. Look at the purchases that you've already made and see which ones you can negotiate, see which ones you don't need, and see which ones you can cut down. Because there's a lot of companies out there, from your cable bill to your internet bill to potentially your phone bill, where these utility companies will lower your bill if you just ask. And so this is where you want to be renegotiating. Look at your insurance bills. See which ones can be renegotiated. See what your competitors are charging. And then call up your company and see if they're willing to work with you on the price. This is a simple way that a lot of people can save anywhere from $20 to $200 to $300 a month on their bills just by making a few phone calls, because now you're not overpaying on some of the bills that you have. Then review your bills and make sure that you're not paying for a subscription that you don't need anymore. Everything is a subscription now. Your TV, your movies, your gym, your music, everything is on some sort of month-to-month payment. And if you are still paying for something that you don't need, well, that's what you want to cancel. Like even my gym. put me on some $2.99 a month magazine subscription. I don't know when they put me on this, but I've been paying this monthly magazine subscription for I don't know how many months to pay for some digital magazine that I did not even know that I had access to, and apparently they just put everybody on it because they were hoping that nobody would notice this small little $3 a month subscription. Well, I noticed it and I told them to cancel it, but this is where you want to pay attention to your bills, because sometimes companies hope that these little subscriptions just are never going to get caught. That way they can just keep charging you a little bit of money every single month forever. And this is where you don't want to let that happen. Protect your bills and take a look at what you're paying for and make sure you're paying for the things that you're using. Next, on the saving side, I don't want you to save your money forever. What I want you to do here is save somewhere between 3 to 12 months worth of expenses depending on your risk tolerance. If right now you're in a state where you want to be more risky, you want to grow your income, you want to achieve the wealth, and you don't have a lot of financial responsibilities so you can be riskier, maybe you only need a few months worth of savings saved up. But if you're in a state where you have a lot of financial responsibilities, you got kids to take care of, you got a spouse you want to take care of, and you don't like the idea of taking on a lot of risk, you're very risk averse, then maybe you want to have closer to 12 months worth of expenses put aside. That way if something bad were to happen, like you lost your job, well, you're not going to have to stress because you have cash to fall back on. And this is where you got to figure out where on the spectrum that you lie and then save that amount of money. Now, once you've saved this amount of money, I want you to stop saving your money and then redirect your saving money into your investment money, because remember, these savings are not there to make you wealthy. These savings are there just to protect you against an emergency, but this investment money, this is what's going to actually make you wealthy. So I don't want you to just spend that money. Now, once you build your savings cushion, I want you to start investing that money, because this is what's going to make you wealthy. This is what's going to allow you to have that financial freedom. And this is where now, the next thing that I want to talk about is you can invest in earning more money. Because now that you have the system, you have the framework of how do you actually use your money after you get paid, it's all about amplifying it. How do you achieve this wealth quicker? Because once you realize this, once you realize that the game is to invest more money if you want to become wealthy, then your next question is, how can I invest more aggressively? And most people at this point are going to say, well, instead of me doing 25-75, what I can do is 30-70. I can try to squeeze more pennies out of my pie. And that's good to an extent, where you are controlling your expenses to invest more aggressively, but there's going to be a limit to how much money you can invest, because there's a limit to how much money you're earning right now. But there's no limit to how much money you can earn tomorrow, because if you start investing more money and time and effort into your mind, into your financial education, well, then you can work on scaling and growing your income. Because then what you can do, if you can 10x your income, you can 10x how much money you're investing and also 10x how much money you're spending at the same time. And this is where it's all about reframing your mindset and understanding that you can earn money, that you can earn more money, and you can achieve that type of financial freedom for yourself, but it requires you to make that investment into yourself. Because if you just say, yeah, I want to become rich, but you're not willing to put your money where your mouth is, or you're not willing to put in the time to do that, well, you're never going to be able to achieve that. And this is where understanding that is possible. But if you really want to amplify the system, you need to be investing this money into your mind and into your education. That way you can achieve that sort of financial success sooner, because now you're investing your money in yourself, and now you're going to be working to increase your income, and then your income's going to flow through here. And if you have more dollars flowing through here, yeah, you're spending more money, which makes you look richer, but you're also investing your money, which actually makes you richer. And if you're living the double guac lifestyle when you can't afford it, meaning you're buying the Gucci, the Louis Vuitton, the Apple AirPods, the BMWs, the Mercedes, when you have no investments, no savings, and no actual wealth, you're not going to become wealthy. You're going to live broke while trying to look rich, because all your money is going out to make other people rich. But what I want to do today is a little bit different, because today I want to take it one step further and talk about now how do you actually spend your money to get the most value from your money. Because money only has value if you spend it. If you don't use your money, then it's just dead cash sitting in a bank somewhere. It's not doing anything for you. So today I want to talk about how do you actually spend your money to get the most value, with 7 different ways to spend your money. Number 1 is you got to buy your time back, because the reality is if you spend all your time working, you're never going to have any time to make any money. Now, when you hear that, that might not make any sense. What do you mean, Jaspreet? When I'm working, I'm getting a paycheck. What do you mean if I'm not working, I'm not making any money? Well, what I'm trying to say is if you spend all your time constantly just working for a paycheck, you're never going to have time to build any true wealth, because you're never going to become wealthy just from your paycheck alone. I don't care how big your salary is. You will never, ever, ever be able to become actually wealthy just because of your salary. You have to be able to use your mind, but if you want to be able to use your mind to build that wealth, you need time in order to do that. And this is where you have to start valuing your time and understand what your time is worth. There's two things that you can do about buying your time back. Either you can buy freedom or you can buy the opportunity to make more money. So if I talk about the freedom, one example of this is, let's say you hate mowing the lawn, you hate buying groceries, there's something that you don't like doing and it's just a time waste for you, and you value your time at $25 an hour. Well, if you can hire somebody at, say, $18 an hour to mow your lawn for you, well, you just bought your time back because your time is worth $25 an hour, and you can pay somebody $18 to mow your lawn, and now you just saved that hour and you just saved that time as well. The second thing that you should spend money on is buying more income. Now, the first way that everybody knows to generate an income is you go and work and you get a paycheck. You're working and you're getting paid. But the second way that you can make money is by buying that income. So think of it this way. Imagine that this is a magic box that produces money. Every month, this box pays you $1,000 a month. You can go out and purchase these types of magic boxes that are paying you $1,000 a month, but now you have to understand, how do you buy it? Because there's many different ways to find these types of magic money printing boxes, and they're all going to come at a different price. I mean, the safest and the most expensive is going to be through a savings account or a high interest savings account, because nowadays the high interest savings account is paying you maybe 1% or something on your savings. So it's very little, but you're getting some sort of cash flow from your investment. If you want to take a little bit more risk and earn some more return, you can look at investing in stocks. Now, you can invest in companies that are paying out dividends, and depending on how big the dividend is, you have to put in a certain amount of cash, buy this box, and then it'll pay you that $1,000 a month. I mean, you can start with as little as $10, but you're not going to make $1,000 a month with a $10 investment. But as you grow, you can continue building up your investments, keep buying more of these boxes that keep paying you every single month, or then you can go out and buy real estate. This is one of my favorite ways to generate cash flow, because now when you buy a property, you buy a house, you buy an apartment complex, you're buying it for the sole purpose of making money. And for me, when I buy real estate, I don't care about how much this property is going to be worth in a year or 10 years. I'm looking at the cash flow. I'm looking at how much money do I have to put in and how much cash can I get out. And this is where now you're buying property to produce cash flow. And if you do it right, this property that you buy, this magic box that you buy, will produce rent. And this rent will cover your property taxes, your insurance, your maintenance, your mortgage, and all of your management fees, and then put some money in your pocket. So your rent will cover all the expenses and pay you just for owning the asset. If you want to take it one step further, you can also buy businesses. This could be maybe a franchise, but this is going to require some work on your end. This could be an actual business that you buy that you don't have to work in, where now you're just buying the ownership of a company and now you're getting the profits without having to work there. This could be a startup that you invest in, and over time the startup grows and starts paying you this type of cash flow. But the whole idea here is you're investing your money in assets. These are all assets, things that you're buying for the sole purpose of making money, as opposed to liabilities, because most of the time when we think of spending money, we think of what I talked about in the beginning of the video. We think about going to the Gucci store, we think about buying a BMW, we think about going on a vacation. All these things are nice, but they don't pay you. None of them are giving you $1,000 a month. And so now what I'm saying is, if you want to make more money, you can use your money, your income, to buy more income. And there's many different ways that you can do this, and you got to figure out what's interesting to you, what you are passionate about, and what's going to give you the best risk to reward ratio. Because obviously here, starting a business or buying a business is going to be some of the most risky things that you can do, but you can also get the most cash flow for every dollar that you invest. Here on your savings, this is almost no risk, but you're going to get the lowest cash flow for every dollar that you invest. These are somewhere in the middle. And so you have to figure out how much risk tolerance are you willing to take, how much return do you need, and what do you actually enjoy doing. Now, before I move on to number 3, if you do want to learn more about how to be a better stock market investor or a real estate investor or a cryptocurrency investor, you can check out Market Insiders. It's an app that I created where every week you get access to coaching sessions, live coaching sessions on stock market investing, real estate investing, and cryptocurrency investing. You can try out Market Insiders for free with a 10-day free trial where you can go through everything, go through all the previous classes, and go through the actual live coaching sessions. So if you want to try out Market Insiders for free, I'll put the link to how you can do that down in the description below. Third, you should spend money on your skills and your education. One thing that I love spending money on are books, mainly audiobooks because I don't like reading physical books, but I love spending money on audiobooks because I try to read a little bit of an audiobook every single day when I go on my morning walks. For most of us, the tool that's going to make us the most money, make us the most success, make us the most happy, make us live the most fulfilled life is our mind. And you have to be willing to sharpen your mind in all aspects of life, physically, mentally, spiritually, financially, if you want to be able to succeed and thrive in each areas of your life. Like LeBron James spends over $1 million a year on his body alone because that's his tool on the court to be able to perform, to be able to produce, and to be able to make money. Now, obviously, he's very smart as well, which is why he's been investing his money in so many different places, but you don't know what you don't know. And if you're ignorant to the physical side, the mental side, the spiritual side, or the financial side, well, you're probably not going to be able to succeed, let alone thrive in any of these areas. And so I try to educate myself in all four of them. I am not an expert in physical health or mental health or spiritual health. I don't even like to call myself an expert in financial health, but I like learning in each one of these things every single day. And you got to be willing to invest in your skills. That's investing time and maybe even investing money depending on where you are in your life. And so I invest my money obviously in audiobooks. I buy classes, I buy coaching. I mean, I spend tons of money on each one of these things. And as you grow, each one of this education levels is going to become more expensive. Like coaching is very expensive. All of my business consultants cost probably 6 figures a year. And it's an investment for me, but it allows me to learn more and get into the minds of people who are very experienced, who know more than I do. Fourth, you have to be willing to invest in your health. Warren Buffett gives this story where he goes into a school and he tells people, what would you do if when you were 16, you got one car and you were told you can have any car that you want, any car that you dream of, but the one stipulation is this is the only car that you'll be able to drive for the rest of your life. What would you do? Well, you're going to take good care of that car. You're going to make sure you put in the right gas. You're going to get the right oil changes. You're going to drive it carefully. You're going to make sure you maintain the car, make sure it's okay because this is the only car that you're going to get. But that's how it works for us with our bodies and our minds. We only get one body, one mind, one health. So you want to make sure you're taking care of that. And this is so important and one of those things that easily gets overlooked, especially when you're an entrepreneur, because I can tell you from personal experience, when you're so on that grind of trying to build something, you can easily ignore this part of life. You don't sleep enough, you're not eating the good foods, but what you want to do, especially as you become more and more successful, is really remember the importance of your health. Obviously, doing the right exercise, get a gym membership, maybe get a trainer, get a nutritionist, get somebody to help you, making sure that you're putting the right foods in your body, because a lot of times we're told this is what's right to eat from our school system or whatever. But most of the times, all that stuff that you're told is crap. But there's a lot of bad food out there. And at the very least, get out the processed food, get out the sugary foods, get out all that crap and start eating real foods, actual foods, and invest in your mental health as well. Maybe that means start reading books on mental health. Even if you feel like you're happy, even if you feel like you're fine, start reading books about the basics of how to live in a happy life, how to live in a happy relationship, how to live a fulfilled life, how to find your purpose. Read books about self-development, because then maybe you'll realize, oh, I can improve on this or that. And you don't know until you start learning, and it allows you to live more of a fulfilled life. Yes, sometimes ignorance is bliss, but you always want to make sure that you're thriving, not just surviving. Number 5, pay somebody to help you manage your finances and protect your finances, because this is an investment that will pay you dividends for the rest of your life. So the first way that you can understand this has to do with your taxes. Now, all of us understand that you have to file a tax return and pay taxes. And a CPA, a tax accountant, can help you file your taxes. But more than just having somebody to help you file your taxes, you need the help of actually how do you manage your taxes. This is where a tax advisor advisor can help. A tax advisor can file your taxes, but they can also guide you on how do you use your money. Sometimes a CPA is just going to be focused on just filing taxes. I've had this experience before with my previous CPA where all they did was just file taxes, and I would try to ask for advice on how do I use my money, how do I legally pay less money in taxes, and they're so focused on just filing everybody's tax returns that they can't really give me good advice on monitoring my business's finances, my personal finances. Now I have a tax advisor that I meet with multiple times throughout the year, at the very least once a quarter, where we talk about here's how much cash we have, here are some of the new tax regulations, here are some of the new tax rules for this year. These are things that you can do with your money to help you spend your money and potentially pay less money in taxes. Now, this doesn't mean you should spend all of your money so you don't pay money in taxes. This means knowing the different strategies out there. That way you can legally pay less money in taxes. So this is having a good tax advisor, not just somebody who's going to file your taxes. And then on the other hand, this has to do with now protecting your finances with something like an estate planning attorney. Now, I am a licensed attorney, however, I'm not your attorney. But one of the things that you realize is most people are so focused on making that money that they never think about how do you protect your money. What happens if you were to die unexpectedly? Where would your money go? Now, these are things that you want to start thinking about because you want to start protecting your money. And this can also protect you in case you get sued. Because now if you get sued, you want to make sure that your personal assets, your home, your bank accounts, your cash, your investments, that these things are not going to be taken away in a lawsuit. This is what wealthy people are doing. And the way that you can do that is by having a good estate planning attorney that can help you protect your assets, who can help you put your assets in different places, maybe a trust, maybe different entities, maybe having different types of insurance. That way you can protect yourself from when you die, so you know how your assets will be passed on, but even when you're alive, to how do you protect your assets. And these are things that you need to be doing, because what will happen is when people realize that you have money, they're going to try to take their hand, put it in your pocket, and grab some of your money for themselves. And so these are things that you want to be protecting yourself when times are good, because when things go bad, if you get sued or if there's an emergency that happens, then it's typically too late. So you want to start planning for this and start spending money to protect your finances and take care of your finances, because it's almost like insurance of how you take care of yourself. Number 6, find the things that are most important to you, that you value the most. That way you can spend more money on these things and cut back on the other things. For me, I don't really spend money on a lot of things. I don't need a lot of things. I'm not a materialistic person, but 2 things that I enjoy spending money on are comfort and convenience. These things provide me with a lot of value, and I am willing to pay a premium for these things because they provide a lot of value for me. In terms of comfort, this means if I'm going to be traveling, let's just say from America to India, and I have to go on a plane ride for 15 hours, I don't want to be sitting like a sardine in economy class. And I know this because my whole life growing up, I sat in the back in economy class for 20 hours on a plane where you sit like this. You barely have room to turn. Trying to sleep is a nightmare. The food is horrible. But, you know, it was what it is. But now the comfort for me would be me buying a business class seat where now I have a whole pod for myself. I can lay down all the way. I have nicer food. I get a whole menu. And now the ride is so much more comfortable, where it's not even something that I dread. It's something that I enjoy. It's now an experience. Yes, it costs a whole lot more for me to fly business class than economy class, but that is something that is important to me. And because I have the ability to afford it, that's something that I'm willing to spend my money on, and I'm willing to cut back on things that I don't need. That's why I don't buy designer clothes, because it's not important to me. The second thing that I will spend money on is convenience. And the quickest and easiest example that I can give you of this is just recently I went to California for another business trip. And when I was there, I had to get a rental car because I needed to get around. And I was looking at different rental car companies, and some of them were actually super cheap. Some of them were saying that I could have a car for a week for just $100. But Hertz, the company that I went through, was charging, I think, $250 or $300 for the same time period. It was costing me 2 or 3 times more. However, with Hertz, I have that gold membership or whatever it's called, where now I can just walk right past the line, go right into the lot, pick the car that I want, and drive off. So I don't have to talk with anybody, I don't got to stand in line, and I don't got to worry about really wasting any of my time. I go right to the car and get out. So it takes me no time from when I get there to into my car to out. Versus with the other companies, I was reading the reviews and they kept talking about how they would have to wait 1 hour to 2 hours in line before they got a rental car. I don't like that. I don't like waiting. I don't like wasting my time. I don't like waiting in lines. My time is more valuable than that. So for me, that convenience was paying the extra money, even though it's probably a similar car, getting a similar car for much more. But for me, it was the convenience of knowing I don't have to stand in line. I don't have to worry about all that other crap. I can go right to the car and get out. And the seventh place that you should spend money is on giving back. And this can be in many different shapes and forms. For me, growing up, I always knew that I wanted to become successful. That way I could take care of my family, because of all the hardships and struggles that I saw them go through. And so one of the things that I did as I started to grow was I gave my parents a little piece of ownership in the minority mindset companies. Now, anytime we give a profit distribution, my parents get a little bit of it. That way I know that they are financially okay. Second is giving back to the communities, organizations, people that you want to take care of. I like taking care of my family. For me, this can be a lot of different things. Back when I was in Detroit, I was living in the city of Detroit. I used to keep a stack of $5 or $7 coupons or gift cards for small different restaurants and eateries near me. That way, anytime I saw a homeless person who was asking for money, instead of giving them cash, because many times that cash was used to purchase drugs in some instances, I would give them a gift card. That way now they can actually eat. So that was one of the things that I used to do. And then when we hit 1 million subscribers here on YouTube, we did a big giving spree. One of the things that we did is I took our team and we went to a teacher store and we went and bought a whole bunch of inventory from the actual store. That way we could support the local business owners. And then we took this stuff that we bought from the store, we gave it to a local Detroit school. That way now they have more supplies. And then I went to the Detroit school. I asked the principal how many teachers do they have there. I gave each teacher a $500 check. That way they have more cash to help support their students. And then I also looked at some of the other organizations that are very close to me that are helping to support people that I gave a big check to. So there's many different things that you can do. And if you do not have the financial means to give, that's okay. You can also give with your time. You can give with your resources. If you have a skill or a talent, there are many different ways to give. But it's just something that you can do that as you grow, you want to remember that sometimes giving people the helping hand can go a long way. Having good money habits today is very difficult because, for one, we are in a very tough economy with the economy slowing down and inflation running hot. And then on top of that, we have this culture where it is very normal and glorified to almost be bad with money. People like complaining about money problems on social media. They love flexing all the nice stuff that they can't afford on social media. And so what I want to do today is talk about some of the most important money habits that you have to have before you turn 40, because now until that time you want to be making sure you're working on these money habits to get it all in place. That way you can really set yourself up for financial success and wealth. And it all starts with number one, stop bleeding cash, and in this case, knowing how to pay down your debts. Because when you have consumer debts that are consuming you, which are your student loans, your credit card debts, your home equity lines of credit, your hard money loans, your payday loans, your buy now, pay laters. These types of debts are where you're spending your income today to pay off all the liabilities, all the luxuries, all the consumer expenses that you couldn't afford yesterday. When you get stuck in this type of rat race, all you're doing is you're going to work today to pay off your banker for the things that you bought yesterday. I was watching a podcast yesterday, and what they were saying was the number one way for you to become wealthy and set yourself up for financial success is to pay off your student loans before you turn 30. And that's a great thing to do. But what happens now if you have $500,000 worth of student loans because you went to medical school and you didn't graduate until you're 28 or 29? Or what happens now if you're 22 years old and you have $40,000 worth of student loans and you don't really start paying it off until you're 28 or 29 or 30? And so yes, if you can pay down your student loans ASAP, that's great. But by the time you're 40, you have to know how to pay it off, if not pay it off completely, because this is where it's not just your student loans, it's your student loans, the credit card debt, all those debts that are for your consumer liabilities, the things that are not putting money in your pocket. If your debt isn't paying for itself, because even student loans fall under this category, if your debt isn't paying it off through its own asset, you need to pay it off as soon as possible. Now, as much as people try to strategize the best way to pay down debt, at the end of the day, the debt strategy method ultimately comes down to this. This is your debt that you have, and if you want to pay it off, you need to have cash to throw at your debt to pay it off. And there are two ways to get this extra cash. Either you can spend less money or you can earn more money. In either of these cases, this is going to give you a bigger margin because now you have your income and your expenses. Either you can increase your income or you can cut your expenses, or you can do both at the same time. This is going to give you a margin, which means you're going to have cash that you can use to attack this debt and pay it off. And the faster you pay it off, the less debt that you're going to have to pay because, well, the less interest that you pay. Because now the more you pay today, the smaller your principal balance will get and the smaller the interest that you're going to have to pay now because your balance is getting smaller. So it literally pays off to attack your debt sooner rather than later. This is where people try to get into the nitty-gritty. Should you follow the Dave Ramsey model, which is the snowball model, where you're paying off the smallest debt balances first and then you're gradually getting bigger and bigger and bigger? Or do you follow the debt avalanche method, which is now you're paying off the highest interest rates first? It really doesn't matter. The key here is the more money you put in towards your debt, I don't really care which method you follow, the more money you put in towards your debt, the faster you're going to be able to pay this off. And once you stop having this debt, once you stop bleeding cash, now you could take this extra money, this margin that you have now, and put it to work to make you wealthy. Because when you get stuck in this system of constantly just having all of your money going out to pay your banker's the one that's getting rich, but you are now working to keep your banker rich. So you want to pay this off as fast as possible, that way you can use your money to make yourself rich. The second money habit that you have to master if you want to become wealthy is you have to know how do you spend the money that you have. Because we live in a society where you don't have to be able to afford something to be able to buy it, because you can buy pretty much whatever you want thanks to the help of credit cards and lines of credit and buy now, pay later. But that's going to put you right back into the problem that we just solved, is how do you pay down the debt? Because now when you're just buying things that you can't afford, well, now you are going to spend tomorrow's income paying off your yesterday's expenses. So what you want to do now is you want to understand the difference between being able to buy something and being able to afford something, and then spend your money based off of that. Dave Ramsey said it the best. He says that you need to act your wage. And the way that you can do that, the simplest thing that you can understand is my rule of 5 when it comes to your liabilities, which are not necessary to you living your life. And that means in the rule of 5, if you cannot buy 5 of them, you cannot afford 1 of them. It's a very simple rule of thumb that will help you understand what you can afford and what you can't afford. And this also means that you have to understand how do you spend money on things like your car, because pretty much everybody thinks it's normal to have a car payment. Because now when you want to buy a car, who's going to pay for a car in cash? Because now you can either lease it or you can have a car payment. Now leasing can work for some people or business owners in some situations for the tax purposes, the tax advantages. But I want you to think of leasing like flying first class. It is not the cost-effective way to fly. It is a luxury and you're paying extra for that luxury. That's what you get when you lease a car. So leasing is buying that extra luxury. It's flying first class, you're buying the extra luxury of being able to now switch cars and do everything that you get with a lease. Now when it comes to actually buying the car, if you want to buy a car and you can't afford to fly first class, you shouldn't be leasing. Now you're comparing, okay, do I buy it with a car payment or do I buy a car outright? Right now, at the time of me recording this video, the average car payment for a new car is $644 a month, and the average payment on a used car is $488 a month. Now, not only do you have this car payment, but then you have to pay for your insurance, you have to pay for your car registration, you're gonna have to pay for your maintenance, and when you got the nice car, you also gotta pay for your premium gas. And then what happens to so many people is you get into this car payment game, where now you buy this car, you own it for 4 to 6 years, and then you pay it off, and then as soon as you pay it off, you feel a little weird because now you have a car with no car payment. So what happens? That's when people go out, they sell this car, and then they go and buy a new car, and then they start this car payment game all over again. So you just finally paid off the car, but then you start it all over again. So then people keep these car payments going forever because it's so normal to have these types of car payments. But let's do the opposite now. What if instead of having a car payment, your car payment was going to invest in you? That way you can become wealthy. So let's just assume now that you took $550 a month and you, instead of buying a car, you use this money to buy you investments, whether it's on the stock market, maybe you're building up a real estate fund, because now with real estate crowdfunding, you can invest $500 a month, but you're investing $550 a month and you get just a 7% average return on your money. And you do this from the time you turn 21, which is when many people start this car payment game. And you do this until you retire. And you don't increase the amount of money that you're investing every month, even though your car payments are probably going to go up every 5 or 6 years because you're going to keep buying more and more expensive cars. But I'm going to assume now that you're only going to pay $550 a month into your investment portfolio every month from 21 until retirement. Well, if you do that for 45 years, guess what? You're going to have a retirement portfolio of over $2 million. Versus if you just pay this $500-$600 a month for your car every single month, after you get to retirement age, guess what? You're going to have a car worth next to nothing. Cars lose value each and every day. Sure, maybe your car, if you have a nice car, will be worth $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, maybe 50 grand. But that's not $2 million because here you're buying assets. Here you're investing this money into yourself to buy an asset. Here you're taking this cash and you're paying interest on it to buy a depreciating liability, something that's dropping value each and every day, and then you're paying interest to the bank on top of that. Now you might be saying, but Jaspreet, I need a car to get to and from work. Yeah, you're right. But do you really need a $40,000 or $50,000 or $60,000 car? I like nice cars. I want you to have a nice car, but the thing that I want you to understand is that your car is a liability. It's not making you any money. I still today drive a car that's worth about $500. Actually, 2 days ago, I got a call from my homeowner association because my car, it doesn't have a bumper on it anymore. And they called me and they said, hey, we got a couple of complaints from your neighbors saying that there's a black car in your driveway that's an unusable car that's just sitting there because they thought that it was a junk car sitting in my driveway, and they said that I should put my car into a storage unit. And I said, excuse me, well, this car takes me to my office every single day. I've been in California for a little while, so I guess that's probably why they were getting these complaints. But I drive my car to work every day and it takes me everywhere. And yeah, while I don't have a bumper, everything else is working. Now look, I make a good income, and yeah, I probably will buy a very nice car someday. But for me, I understand that my car is a depreciating liability, and right now I'm investing very aggressively. I don't want to spend 100 grand or 200 grand on the car today because I know that I'm going to take this cash and I can reinvest it. I can put it back into my business, market briefs. I can take this money and go out and buy stocks and go out and buy real estate. I can find the other opportunities because I am so focused. I am laser focused on building this thing that I never had, this wealth that I never had before, because I know how important it is for me, and I'm willing to sacrifice that nice car today. I will buy a nice car. Okay, I'm not saying you gotta drive a junk car for your whole life. I'm gonna buy a nice car. But I understand how it plays a part in my life because I understand the difference between an asset and a liability. And I'm more focused on building this than I am focused this. This is my number one priority. This, well, my car is just taking me from A to B, and when I'm ready, I will buy another car. The third thing that you have to understand is how do you invest your money? And when I say how do you invest your money, I don't mean putting your money into your 401k or your IRA. If you're doing that, fine, but that should be the very base. That should not be the tip and end of your investments. You need to be investing your money yourself. Now, if by this time you realize, okay, I suck at investing my money, I hate investing my money, then maybe you can consider getting some sort of financial advisor or money manager to help you with that. But if you don't, now you got to figure out how you're going to be investing your money yourself. And what you're going to realize is maybe you're going to like stock market investing. Maybe you're going to like real estate investing. Maybe you're going to like cryptocurrency. Maybe you're going to hate stocks but love real estate. Maybe you're going to do something like that, but you have to understand how do you invest your money. And this starts with the basic education of understanding how you get paid. Because the way you get paid is going to dictate how you invest your money. Because you can get paid from cash flow, which I'll label CF, or you can get paid through appreciation. And this is when your investment value goes up. The reason why I love investing in real estate is because I can get predictable cash flow from my real estate. So the way it works is once you buy a property, whether it's a home, an apartment complex, whatever it is, you buy this property, you own it, and now you're going to rent it out to somebody else, and somebody else is going to be living here. I'm going to draw this person right here, draw him a nice mustache, or as we like to call it in my native language, Punjabi, a much. This person is going to be living in this property, and then they're going to be paying you rent every single month for living in your home. Now the nice thing is, once you understand the ropes, once you understand how it works, it's going to be very passive on your end. Like, I don't know who my tenants are. I don't get involved with the day-to-day maintenance. I'm not involved with paying the bills. I have a property management company who the tenants deal with, and they do all of that work A to Z. But what they also do is make sure that I get paid. They deposit this money into my bank account. Now, of course, the property management company takes a fee, right? They're going to charge you money, so your rents are going to go down a little bit, but it gives me back my peace of mind, it gives me back my time, because now that I own the asset, this asset can generate me cash flow forever, as long as I own the asset and as long as the asset exists. And now I'm getting this cash flow, because now if you can think about it in terms of stacking assets, well, for me, I know that every house that I buy, it might put between $500 and $700 into my pocket of profit every single month. And so now it's just a game. How do I stack more? If I have 10, that's 5 to 7 grand of cash flow every single month, essentially passive, that I don't have to go and work for. If I can get 100, I know it's going to seem really far away. How in the world can you get 100? Because that's very hard, but that would be $50,000 to $70,000 worth of cash flow every single month. Now the question is, how do you put it in action? How can you buy 1 a year? And then as you start to grow, maybe 2 a year. And it's all about putting the plan in action, because the hardest one is the first one. But this is one way that you can get paid, is through cash flow. The second way is through appreciation. Appreciation is when the value of your asset goes up. Now you can do the same thing in real estate, where people will go out and buy a home for, say, $200,000 and then hope that this home will be one day worth $300,000 and then sell it for a profit. But I don't like to do that with real estate, because with real estate, I'm buying this cash flow. The people that get burned the most in real estate are the people that do this. They start looking for these speculative properties. They're hoping that they're going to be able to sell it for a quick profit. I don't like doing that. I'm not a trader. I'm not a flipper. I like to be a long-term investor, which is why when I invest in real estate, I don't care what's happening with housing prices. The only thing I'm looking at is how much cash flow that I'm getting. However, you can build this appreciation as a long-term investor. Because remember, there's a difference between trading and investing. Trading is now when you're trying to flip something. You buy something for 100 grand or 1 grand or $100 today, and then you hope that you can sell it for 50% more in the next 6 months. I don't play that game. So when it comes to appreciation, I'm looking for now investments that I believe in for the long-term value. This can be stocks on the stock market. It could be my real estate, where I'm not buying it for the appreciation, but if I get appreciation, that's icing on the top. Or it can also be cryptocurrency, if you believe in crypto. If you don't believe in crypto, don't buy crypto. But now, the whole idea here is you want to look for these investments that you can hold on to for the long term. And by long term, I don't mean 6 months. I don't even mean a year. I'm talking about multiple years, if not decades. So now, this is something that you believe in, that you want to hold on to for the long term. And in the stock market, if you don't want to get into the business of finding, researching, and investing in individual companies, well, then you can also invest in ETFs. An ETF is an exchange-traded fund that gives you exposure to a lot of different stocks. So now you can invest in ETFs that give you exposure to the 500 biggest companies on the stock market, the S&P 500. You can invest in ETFs that give you exposure to tech stocks. You can invest in ETFs that give you exposure to energy stocks. You can invest in ETFs that give you exposure to healthcare stocks. So if you know what it is that you want to invest in, but you don't know the best company to invest in, then you can just invest in an ETF. And now, if you're still like, I don't know how to go about doing that, well, then what you can do is just set up a passive and automated system where now every week you have some money that's automatically leaving your bank account and automatically being invested into the ETFs that you want to invest in. I have one of these set up where every single week, for me it's on a Wednesday, it doesn't matter what day you pick, but every Wednesday money gets pulled out of my bank account and it gets automatically invested into my portfolio of ETFs. So that is my passive strategy, but then I also have an active strategy where now I'm looking for good investments, whether it's in the stock market or the real estate market or the crypto market or with startups. I'm looking for these good investments, and then when I see a good buying opportunity because prices go down, well, that's when I come in and buy. Typically, now it's becoming a little bit more awareness of this on YouTube thanks to education on these platforms, but typically what happens is when these asset prices go down, people get scared, they run away, and then they sell. But for me, that's a great opportunity to buy. Like I was buying when the 2020 crash happened. I was buying pretty aggressively. I was buying real estate after the 2008 crash happened. I was buying cryptocurrencies when we saw the last cryptocurrency crashes. So for me, crashes and down markets are opportunities for me to buy instead of opportunities for me to panic and sell, and that's where you want to find the right opportunities there. Now you can also generate cash flow from the stock market. Like if you invest in a dividend paying company, some companies have a big profit at the end of the year and they'll just give it away, or most of it away, or some of it away in the form of dividends, which is literally just like a cash payment to you and it gets automatically deposited in your account. Many companies pay a dividend every quarter, meaning every 3 months. And so if you invest in these dividend paying companies, your goal is again seeing this appreciation, meaning seeing the long-term value of your stock investment go up. But in the meantime, you're getting paid while you wait because you're getting this sort of cash flow. So if your goal is just to build another stream of income, you want to have another stream of income coming in that's passive, well then what you can do is you take that passive investment strategy that I was telling you about and now look for either dividend paying stocks or dividend ETFs. That way now you're just working over the years to build up another stream of income, because if you do that and you stay consistent with it and you do it for years, you do it for a decade, what you're going to see is now all of a sudden you have just built a brand new stream of income, and the goal is for your stream of income to replace your job income. That way now you're working for your job income, but then you also have your passive income from your dividends or your real estate that's paying for your lifestyle. So now you just doubled your income without doubling your work, because now your dividend income is paying you without you working, and then your job income is paying you with your working. And then whenever you're ready, you can either cut down hours from your job or you can keep working a job. That way you can keep building up your investment assets. But the key here is you need to know what your goal is. Do you want this? Do you want this? And know where it is that you want to invest. The fourth habit that you have to understand is now how do you save money and where do you save money? So the basic end of this is you got to know how to live below your means. By the time you're 40, you have to know how to spend less money than you make, but you got to understand then when and how do you save money, and when is it right for you to spend money? Because when you save your money, well, there should be a reason. And what I like to say is that you should be saving money for one of three reasons. You should be saving your money for an emergency, you should be saving your money for an investment, and you should be saving your money for big purchases, and that's it. If you're not saving your money for one of these three reasons, then you are not saving your money smartly. So every saving dollar that you put aside needs to have a strategy and a reason to be saved. Now when it comes to your emergency savings, you want to have somewhere between 3 months and a year's worth of expenses saved, depending on what your risk tolerance is. If you hate the idea of taking risk, if you don't like the idea of investing, then put aside a year's worth of expenses in your savings, because that will even cover you through the worst case scenario, and then invest everything after that. But if you have a higher risk tolerance, then maybe you only need 3 months worth of savings put aside. But then this also goes to now, how do you now save strategically when it comes to your spending? Because in the beginning, we talked about spending your money when it comes to most of your expenses. But now as you start to become a little bit more financially savvy, as you start to build wealth, you want to be spending your money the smart way and not just saving every penny because, well, you can. Because the ultimate goal of having money is to be able to use the money, because if you don't use your money, it doesn't give you any value. So now the question is, how can you put your money to work and use this in a way that's going to give you the most benefit? Like one thing that you can do, which is what wealthy people do, is they use their money to buy back their time. So if there are things that you hate doing, maybe you don't like going to get groceries. I hate going to the store. If you don't like going to groceries or getting groceries, you don't like cooking your own food, well then now you can use your money to pay somebody to do that. Now there's an added cost there. You got to pay somebody to get your groceries. You're going to pay a premium for that. If you're going to hire someone to cook for you, there's a cost to that. But you're buying your time back. And now as you're on that journey to build wealth, you have to start valuing your time. If you can pay somebody $25 an hour to cook for you and your time is worth $50 an hour, well, you just bought your time back and made a profit. This also means you got to understand what's important to you. For me, name brand stuff and a nice car aren't on the top of my list. However, I do like comfort and I do like certain luxuries. Like if I fly international, if I'm going to India to visit family, that is a 20-hour journey on a plane. Well, on that plane ride, for the most bulk of my life, I was flying economy in the back seat, sitting like a sardine. I don't like doing that anymore. So now I'm willing to pay for that added comfort of sitting in business class or first class, which costs significantly more. I mean, it costs like 5 times more to sit in a business class or first class seat when you're going international, but it's worth it to me. So I will pay a lot more money for that because that value gives me value, something that I want. And when I travel, I like to be able to travel. So I spend money on traveling. I want to have a nice hotel room. I used to be the one that would fit 10 people into a $24 or $44 a night hotel or motel room. Now, I'm getting nicer rooms. I want that nicer comfort there because that provides more value for me. And you got to understand now, how do you save strategically? So we talked about the 3 places, right? The reasons why you save your money, but now don't just save all of your money to save it as you start to get deeper into your wealth journey. Figure out what's important to you. Spend money on the things that provide value to you. And the things that don't provide value, well, yeah, you can make those sacrifices because it's not that important to you. If you keep living that life where all you're worried about is what other people will think, well, you're going to be spending your money to make other people who don't really care about you and people you don't really care about, you're doing it just to impress them, but no one really cares. You're blowing your money on the things that don't matter, but this is where you got to know how to do it the right way. And this brings me to number 5, which is you need to know how to protect your wealth, because now as you start to build more wealth, what you're going to realize is when people realize that you have money, they're going to try to take their hand, put it in your pocket, and take some of your money for them. And you will see this in a number of different ways. Maybe people will try to sue you. Maybe it'll be in the form of taxes. Maybe it'll be something else. But this is where you have to know how to protect yourself legally and financially by building shields around yourself. And I'm telling you this from personal experience. Like, my first real estate deal ever was the most difficult and probably one of the biggest headaches. Now, it was a profitable deal. I still own that property today, but I learned a lot from it. And my first tenant also sued my real estate company because the claim was that my bathtub in that property was too slippery when the water was on. So the claim was that because they would turn the water on, the bathtub would get so slippery that it caused this person, one of the tenants there, to slip and fall. And because of that, they were suing my real estate company. Now, the interesting thing was, then the reason why I have a property management company is because they document everything. They refused to let my contractors in after that happened because they said that there was a chip in the paint on the bathtub, which was about the size of a quarter. So that chip of paint, they said, contributed to the bathtub being slippery. However, they did not let us make that repair. And second, they'd also admitted that the reason why they don't want anyone to make a repair there is because the person who slipped fell at a barbecue playing some games, and that's where he got hurt. And so because he fell at the barbecue, that we can't come in there. So we had all this documented, so it was a frivolous lawsuit. The judge threw it out. However, it was something that I had to go through and learn because in America, you can sue anyone for anything. It's just the way the system works. So how do you protect yourself? Well, for one, if you're investing in real estate or if you have a business, you want to have a legal shield. Maybe you create an LLC or an S Corp or maybe a C Corp, depending on what your company is. You got to talk to a tax professional or an attorney in your area. Most of the time, probably an LLC or a S Corp is going to do the job for you. And then once you have your business entity set up, you also want to make sure you have insurance. You got to have insurance for your property, your properties. You got to have insurance for your business. If you own a business and you have employees, you got to have separate insurance for that. So you want to make sure you have your different insurances set up. Have health insurance for yourself. Have health insurance for your family. Have your insurances for your property, your personal property, your car, your home. You know, all these things are not fun to have. Maybe you have life insurance. As you're working to build your wealth, life insurance is something that can provide you the sort of bridge insurance as you're building your wealth and owning assets, because your goal should not be to rely on your life insurance to take care of you or your family. Your goal should be for your assets to take care of you and your family. So that's one of the things that you can have set up. And then you want to make sure that you talk to an attorney, an estate planning attorney. An estate planning attorney is going to help you now understand how do you put all of your assets together. That way, whenever your time comes, because all of us have a limited time on this earth, how will your assets get passed on? Maybe you have a will, maybe you create a trust, maybe you do some other sort of fancy estate planning, depending on how much wealth you have, on how you can start planning to pass your assets down to somebody else. So these are things you need to plan for, because if you don't, then you're going to run into a situation where you can create a lot more risk, a lot more fights within the family, a lot of other issues, but you can avoid all of that by just planning for it. Now, I know no one likes to plan for worst case scenarios. Like, insurance is not something fun you want to pay for. No one likes to plan for what happens after you die. But the reality is, if you don't, and something bad happens, well, you're taking on all the risk, and it can cause a lot of issues when you can prevent all of it by just protecting your wealth and taking these precautions when times are okay. I mean, it's just like investing your money. How do you take advantage of a market crash? Well, you learn and you put money aside when times are good. So it's preparing when times are good for a bad time. And it's the same thing here, where you want to prepare for when things go wrong during a good time. You got to understand that, okay, working hard is good, but now you want to work hard in a way that's going to give you the most returns, in a way that's going to scale. Just because you're making a good hourly wage by doing something doesn't mean it's necessarily scalable. And this is where you have to understand. Sometimes you got to take a step back. Like sometimes you get caught up where, oh, I got this really good gig. I'm making $30, $40, $50 an hour.